From the 11 a.m. game, let's go to the afternoon contest, gentlemen. Number 4, Alabama. Number 12, Oklahoma. Again, these are before the newest playoff rankings come out. Apologies if that changes just ever so slightly. But the Crimson Tide, as of recording, are 6.5-point favorites. 2:30 p.m. game on ABC. Interesting spot for both teams, right? This is a revenge spot for last year's drubbing that the Sooners handed out to Alabama in Norman. It eliminated Alabama from the playoffs. It really kind of like put the final nail, I think, in the coffin of Jalen Milroe as a college quarterback, and what is his legacy going to be at Alabama? Coming into this game, guys, I was looking for edges. I was looking for statistical advantages, but I knew I had to start at the running game. And Alabama has been hard to watch. Oklahoma has been hard to watch. I didn't realize it was as bad as it actually is statistically. Oklahoma is 90th in the country in rushing offense this season. Alabama is 120th in the country. They can't do anything on the ground, which makes me really nervous coming into this game because I think a passing attack probably does favor Alabama, even though the Sooners have I think they're 22nd in the country in pass defense. But we've seen that back end be leaky at times, right? And get exposed by the big play. I think that's Alabama's path to victory here. Can they sustain drives? Can they keep one foot in front of the other, moving the chains? Obviously, an extremely talented wide receiving core. And we saw Oklahoma struggle at moments, at key moments, to keep up with Ole Miss a couple of weeks ago in Norman. I don't like the line. It makes me nervous because there's not one thing on the offense that I'm really leaning on for either team, but I think I'm going to take the Crimson Tide at home. I think they're a better team. I just trust them a little bit more. And to be quite honest, again, going back to the Ole Miss game, when Oklahoma struggles to get first downs, there's not kind of the break glass in case of emergency as of late. I think Alabama can outscore the Sooners.
Guys, I was coming on here ready to talk about how I agree with everybody that Bama's going to win this game, but I did some digging and I'm calling the OU upset. I'm going to say that Oklahoma's going to walk in there and beat the Tide. And here's why. So we talked about the Alabama run game. Alabama currently only running for 111 per game. OU is only giving up 82 per game. I think it's safe to say Bama's not running the football against Oklahoma. That's just probably not part of their game plan going in. Oklahoma has, however, been carved up in the back end, in recent weeks, right? They gave up 315 to Ole Miss and 393 to Tennessee, but they did go 1-1 in those games, right? They did beat Tennessee despite it. So my question is Ty Simpson going to be able to win by himself in the pocket, not just put up yards, but win the game by himself in the pocket? OU's defense is tied for 4th in the country in sacks, and if they can get after Simpson, it's going to be an issue for Bama, right? That's where they start to shut down real quick. If they can't run the ball a little bit, keep it balanced, if they can't keep it in, 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2 situations, I think it could be really bad for Alabama trying to go against this Oklahoma defense. Now, other side of the ball, the complaint is about the OU offense and its running game, right? The supporting cast around Mateer, right? That we've talked about how Mateer is like 99% of their offensive efficiency. But in recent weeks, Xavier Robinson is the guy. Okay, last couple weeks against Ole Miss, he ran 9 carries for 109 yards, and then against Tennessee, 16 carries for 115. So no, they haven't been running the ball, but theirs isn't a can't. Theirs is just a didn't. They just weren't running the football. They didn't know who their guys were. I don't know what it was, but they just couldn't run the football beginning of the season, but they've started to turn it around in recent games. It's no secret that John Mateer has not been the same since he's returned for surgery. Can he get back to that? That's a big question, right? But I want to point out that Bama has played tighter games when they've played quarterbacks who can run. South Carolina was a close game. Missouri was close. Prbula had some wheels. Georgia was close. Stockton has the ability to make some stuff happen and extend plays with his legs. Florida State at the beginning of the season, right? They've played the closer games and they've struggled when a quarterback has the ability to run. Mateer certainly has that ability. So if Mateer can return to form a little bit, and I think, with a little bit of time off, it's been a couple of weeks, he's maybe a little healthier, maybe getting back in the rhythm of things, maybe took some time to kind of work on his mechanics a bit. If he can return to form, and if that defense plays up to their normal standards, I'm picking the upset. They're going to force Ty Simpson to play hero ball, and he can, but I don't think he will. Oklahoma pulls the upset. They're staying in playoff contention, and they're throwing a big wrench into the SEC.
I think that's a good case. I think if you're making the case for Oklahoma winning this game, it is on the back of a defense that completely makes Alabama one-dimensional and gets just enough. I think there's high rock fight potential in this game, guys. I think that this is going to be a game where both offenses really struggle to move the ball. Alabama because Oklahoma is a really good defense, and Oklahoma struggling to move the ball because Alabama has a decent defense, and they just really, against anybody with a pulse on defense, have really struggled to put up a ton of points. So, yeah, I think, again, great job laying it out. I'm going to take the other side here. I'm going to take Bama to cover this spread, 6.5, just because I'm concerned about Oklahoma being able to string drives together. And I'm really concerned about them wearing their defense out by not being able to move the ball down the field. Oklahoma's 54th in quality drive rate and 95th in points per quality drive. So that's a double whammy of they're not necessarily consistently putting drives together. And when they do, they're way more often settling for field goals or not getting any points out of those drives. The Bama defense, conversely, is 16th in quality drive rate allowed and 28th in points allowed per quality drive. So hat tip to Parker Fleming for all those stats, by the way. Buy him a cup of coffee on his site if you use it. So I'm just really worried that eventually Alabama's weapons are going to win out. I love Oklahoma's secondary. They've shut down some really good passing offenses, but the best of the best that they've played, right? Tennessee, Ole Miss, even Auburn a little bit. Auburn eclipsed 200 yards on them back in September. The best of the best that they've played have really eventually found some success against them. So I think that's what I'm taking to win out here. I'm going to take Alabama at home to cover this spread. But if Oklahoma does find a way, this is a true win your way in scenario to an at-large bid, because after this, they've got Mizzou at home, LSU at home, not 100% cakewalks by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly you feel like if you can get Bama, you can get both of those.
No doubt about that. And I think Oklahoma is a team that certainly needs to be on everybody's radar. They're the second team out. They were the second team out on the initial CFP polls. So it's clear that the committee still values them as a complete team. I think the defense obviously doing a lot of heavy lifting. John Mateer's first half of the season probably also carrying them that high up the polls. They obviously got it right with Texas being ahead of Oklahoma, but I still felt like maybe both of those teams ranked a little bit highly based off of what we had seen from them so far, right? Like, you can talk strength of schedule, you can talk quality wins. By the end of the year, I don't think that Tennessee win is going to be anything of note for Oklahoma, but to your point, you knock off Alabama, you knock off Missouri, you knock off LSU, like that's a heck of a string to close things out. And by that point, it wouldn't really matter. Oklahoma would more than likely be in. The last thing I'll say that goes in favor of the Sooners, Alabama, like Georgia, we've been beating this drum. We'll talk Georgia here in just a second. Not adept at getting to the quarterback, right? It's just been a bizarre year where the front seven has been effective at stopping the run, has been effective at kind of disrupting the flow of an opponent's offense. But when it came to just getting the quarterback on the ground, Georgia's terrible at it. Alabama's kind of painfully average at it. So will that offensive line for Oklahoma that has had all sorts of struggles this year, that has not consistently been able to protect John Mateer, that has not been consistently able to open up running lanes, can they take another step in their evolution forward and give their quarterback maybe an emerging running game? I still have my hesitancies, but can they give them a stable platform with which to get first downs, to string those drives together? We'll see. 2:30 p.m. on ABC.